The fake beard itched like hell. Elias stared at his reflection in the grimy restroom mirror, red polyester suit reeking of pine spray and desperation. He hated Christmas, hated this lie. But $500 meant rent, so he forced his best, "Ho, ho, ho," and stepped into the hallway. The woman looked exhausted, kind eyes, flour on her sweater. But the 6-year-old boy stared at him like a scientist examining a failed experiment. The kid didn't ask for toys. He whispered, "I know you're fake, but my mom needs someone tonight." Small fingers held out a crumpled 20. "Will you stay for hot chocolate?" Elias forgot how to breathe. The door swung open before Elias could knock. Warm air rushed out, carrying the scent of burned ginger cookies in vanilla candles. A woman stood there, blonde hair escaping a messy bun, flour dusting her oversized cardigan like snow. Her eyes were the color of winter sky, pale blue, tired, but still somehow soft. "Oh, thank God," she exhaled, relief flooding her face. "You're here. I was worried the agency forgot." Elias opened his mouth, closed it. Agency? His phone gig posting had said, "Private event, cash only, no questions." This woman thought he was legitimate, professional, not some broke carpenter who'd answered a Craigslist ad 3 hours ago. "I'm Clara." She stepped aside, gesturing him in. Come in, it's freezing." Leo's been watching the window for 20 minutes. The apartment was small but achingly warm. A tiny Christmas tree sat in the corner, decorated with homemade ornaments that looked like a 6-year-old's art project. The furniture was old, mismatched, but everything was clean, loved. The kind of home that wasn't built with money, but with hands that refused to give up. Elias stepped inside, his cheap boots leaving wet prints on the welcome mat. "I know you probably do this all the time," Clara said, wringing her hands. "But Leo, he's been having a hard year. His father left last Christmas and Her voice cracked. She swallowed it down. "I just want him to have one good memory, you know?" The weight of her hope settled on Elias's shoulders like a physical thing. He should tell her, should admit he wasn't some premium Santa service. But then he saw the kid. Leo sat on the couch, small and serious, a book about astronomy open on his lap. He didn't run over squealing, didn't bounce with excitement. He just looked up, dark eyes assessing Elias with unsettling intelligence. "Hello, Santa," Leo said, voice flat. "You're late." Elias's beard itched. His suit smelled like the previous renter's cigarette smoke. But he forced the smile, dropped his voice an octave. "Ho, ho, ho. Sorry, kiddo. Reindeer traffic." Clara laughed, a bright, unexpected sound that hit Elias somewhere behind his ribs. Leo didn't smile. He closed his book, stood and walked over with the precision of a lawyer approaching a witness stand. "Can we talk?" Leo asked. "Alone?" Clara blinked. "Sweetie, I don't think—" "It's fine," Elias heard himself say. "Santa and Leo need some workshop time, right, buddy?" Leo's expression didn't change, but he nodded. Clara hesitated, then smiled. "I'll make hot chocolate, the real kind, not the packet stuff." She disappeared into the kitchen, humming something that sounded like a lullaby. The moment she was gone, Leo's entire demeanor shifted. He crossed his arms, tilted his head. "How much is she paying you?" Elias froze. "What?" "My mom. How much?" Leo's voice was calm, analytical. "Because I checked the agency," she called. "They're booked until January. Their automated message said so, which means you're not from them." Shit, this kid was terrifying. "I can pay you extra," Leo continued, pulling a crumpled 20 from his pocket, the same bill from earlier. "But I need to know you're not going to hurt her." Elias crouched down, eye level with the kid. Up close, he could see the fear underneath the bravado. The way Leo's fingers trembled around that 20. This wasn't a game. This was survival. I'm not going to hurt anyone, Elias said quietly. Honestly, I'm just, I needed the money. Your mom seems nice. I'll play Santa, then I'll leave. That's it. Leo studied him for a long moment. Then slowly, he nodded. Okay, but I have conditions. Of course he did. The living room floor was a war zone of wooden blocks and half-built Lego spaceships. Elias sat cross-legged on the carpet, his fake belly cushion making it hard to breathe, while Leo constructed what appeared to be a functioning model of the International Space Station. You're supposed to ask me what I want for Christmas, Leo said, not looking up from his engineering project. Elias glanced toward the kitchen. Clara was still in there, the sound of a whisk against ceramic mixing with an old radio playing Bing Crosby. Soft yellow light spilled through the doorway, painting everything in amber warmth. All right, Elias said, playing along. What do you want for Christmas, Leo? For my mom to stop crying at night. The block tower Elias had been building collapsed. He stared at the kid, whose hands never stopped moving, snapping pieces together with mechanical precision. She thinks I don't hear her, Leo continued. But our walls are thin. She cries every Tuesday after she pays rent, and sometimes on Sundays when she thinks I'm asleep. Elias's throat felt tight. He thought about his own apartment, the eviction notice taped to his door, the workshop he'd been sleeping in because heat was cheaper than rent. He thought about crying into sawdust at 3 a.m., wondering when everything had gotten so fucking hard. Your mom's strong, Elias said finally, carefully. Strong people cry too. Leo looked up then, really looked at him. For a second, the scientist's mask slipped. He was just a 6-year-old kid who missed his dad and didn't understand why the world was so cruel. Do you have a family, Santa? The question landed like a punch. Elias thought about his brother, who'd stopped answering calls 2 years ago. His mother, dead before he turned 16. The empty workshop that echoed with nothing but his own breathing. No, he admitted, not really. Then you understand. Clara's humming grew louder. She appeared in the doorway carrying 2 mugs of hot chocolate topped with homemade whipped cream and crushed candy cane. Her smile was so genuine, it hurt to look at. How are my boys doing? She set the mugs down on the coffee table, then, without warning, ruffled Elias's fake white hair. You're wonderful with him, I can tell. Her hand lingered for just a second, warm fingers against cold polyester. Elias felt his face heat under the beard, grateful for the camouflage. Leo took his mug, sipped carefully, then met Elias's eyes over the rim. A silent message. Don't mess this up. Elias picked up his own mug. The ceramic was chipped but hand-painted, little snowflakes in uneven rows. Clara sat on the couch, tucking her feet under her, watching them both with an expression that made Elias's chest ache. She looked happy, actually happy. Like this moment, fake Santa, burned cookies, cheap decorations was exactly what she needed. And Elias realized with creeping horror that he didn't want to leave. Elias checked his watch. 9 p.m. The gig was supposed to last 2 hours max. He'd been here for 3, and Clara showed no signs of kicking him out. Leo had fallen asleep on the couch, one small hand still clutching a Lego astronaut, his breathing soft and even. I should go, Elias whispered, already dreading the cold outside. Clara looked up from where she was draping a blanket over Leo. Already? She caught herself. Of course, you probably have other families waiting. Guilt twisted in Elias's stomach. He stood, the fake belly cushions shifting awkwardly. Bathroom? Down the hall, first door. The bathroom was tiny, clean, smelling of lavender soap. Elias locked the door and started peeling off the costume. The beard came off first, blessed relief. Then the hat, the jacket, the ridiculous belly. He splashed cold water on his face, staring at his actual reflection. 28 years old, tired eyes, stubble that needed shaving. the face of a man who had no business playing make-believe in a stranger's home. He bundled the costume under his arm and stepped into the hallway and walked directly into Clara. She'd changed, traded the flour-dusted cardigan for a simple gray sweater. Her hair was down now, falling past her shoulders in waves that caught the dim hallway light. This close, he could see the freckles across her nose, the faint scar on her chin. "Oh," she stumbled back. You're not." "I can explain," Elias started, but Clara was staring at his face, really staring. Her eyes went wide, then narrowed, then recognition. "You're the guy from the workshop," she breathed. "The one who fixed Mrs. Chen's table last month. I saw you carrying it down the stairs." Elias's mind raced. He'd done that job for cash, no questions. Hadn't realized anyone was watching. "You're not from an agency," Clara said slowly. "You're just... Leo hired you, didn't he? That little..." She pressed her fingers to her temples. "Of course he did. Of course." The silence stretched between them. Elias waited for anger, for her to throw him out. Instead, Clara started laughing. Not polite laughter, real, gasping, bend over at the waist laughter that shook her shoulders and made her eyes water. "I'm sorry," she managed between breaths. I spent $80 on a premium Santa service that never showed up. And instead I got..." She gestured at him, at the crumpled costume. "You." "I can leave," Elias said quietly. "I'll refund whatever Leo paid." "No." Clara wiped her eyes, still smiling. "No, don't. He was happier tonight than he's been in months. And you..." She stepped closer. "You were kind to him. Real kind. That matters more than a fancy costume." They were standing too close now. Elias could smell her shampoo, something clean and simple, like rain. Could see the way her pulse jumped in her throat. "What's your real name?" Clara asked. "Elias." "Elias," she repeated, testing it. "I'm Clara, officially." "I know, you said." "Right." A pause. "Do you want to stay for tea? The non-Santa kind?" Every rational part of Elias's brain screamed, no. This was a job, a transaction. He should take his cash and disappear back into his life. But Clara was looking at him with something that felt dangerously close to hope, and Elias had forgotten what that looked like on someone's face. "Yeah," he heard himself say. "I'd like that." Clara made tea the way she made everything, with quiet efficiency and unexpected warmth. She pulled out a chipped teapot, loose-leaf Earl Grey, 2 mismatched mugs. The kitchen was small enough that they kept bumping elbows while she worked. Small touches that felt more intimate than they should. Elias sat at the tiny table, watching her move. She was beautiful in the way of tired things that refused to break, like sea glass, or old books, or wooden beams in historic buildings, worn smooth by life, but somehow stronger for it. "How long have you been doing carpentry?" Clara asked, pouring water. "Since I was 15. My uncle taught me before he died." Elias accepted the mug, wrapping his hands around the warmth. "I was supposed to finish my architecture degree, but..." He shrugged. "Life happened." "Life has a habit of doing that." Clara sat across from him, close enough that their knees almost touched under the table. "I was supposed to be a full-time writer. Romance novels, actually. Now I edit other people's words between nursing shifts." "Night shifts?" "3 times a week. My neighbor watches Leo." She took a sip, eyes distant. "It's not glamorous, but it pays for this place, for his books. That's what matters." Through the open doorway, Elias could see Leo still sleeping on the couch, small body curled around that Lego astronaut. The Christmas tree lights blinked in slow rhythm. Red, gold, red, gold. "He's a good kid," Elias said. "Terrifying, but good." Clara laughed softly. "He gets that from his father, the terrifying part." Her smile faded. "David left last year. Said he wasn't ready to be a dad. Funny how you figure that out after 6 years." There was no bitterness in her voice, just exhaustion, the kind that came from crying yourself dry and having to wake up functional anyway. "I'm sorry," Elias said, and meant it. "Don't be. We're better off." She met his eyes over the rim of her mug. But Leo, he doesn't talk about it, just watches, analyzes everything, like he's trying to solve the equation of why people leave. Elias thought about the $20 bill, the quiet desperation in Leo's voice. "I need to know you're not going to hurt her." "I won't hurt him," Elias said, "or you, I promise." Clara tilted her head, studying him the way Leo had earlier. "Why do I believe you? Because I'm a terrible liar?" "No." She reached across the table, fingers brushing his wrist. "Just for a second. Because you could have left 3 hours ago, but you stayed." The touch lingered even after her hand retreated. Elias stared at the spot where her skin had met his, feeling something dangerous unfold in his chest. Want. Hope. The terrible knowledge that he could get used to this. The warm kitchen, the sleeping kid, the woman who looked at him like he was more than just a broken man in a rented Santa suit. "I should go," he said, though he didn't move. "It's late. And cold." Clara stood, started clearing mugs. "You could stay on the couch, if you want. Leo would love to see Santa still here in the morning." It was a bad idea. Elias knew that, knew he should grab his costume and vanish back into his real life. But Clara was smiling at him, soft and uncertain, and he'd forgotten how good it felt to be wanted. "Just tonight," he said. Clara's smile widened. "Just tonight." They both knew it was already a lie. Morning light filtered through the curtains, turning the living room gold. Elias woke to find Leo sitting cross-legged on the floor, staring at him with unblinking intensity. A legal pad rested on the kid's knees, filled with neat handwriting. "Morning," Elias croaked, rubbing his face. "We need to discuss terms," Leo said, completely serious. Elias sat up, his back protesting from the lumpy couch. Through the wall, he could hear water running, Clara in the shower. The apartment smelled like coffee and cinnamon rolls. "Terms of what?" Leo flipped to a new page, all business. "My mother needs someone to take her to the Christmas market on Friday. Someone to help us pick out a tree next week. Someone to—" He paused, choosing words carefully. "Someone to make her remember she's allowed to be happy." Elias's throat tightened. "Leo, I can pay you." Leo pulled out a small envelope stuffed with bills. "I've been saving my birthday money, tooth fairy money. I have $147. You can have all of it, but I need you here until Christmas Eve." The weight of it crushed Elias's lungs. This kid was trying to buy his mother happiness with tooth fairy money, was willing to hand over everything he owned to a stranger just to see her smile. "Where does your mom think I'm from?" Elias asked carefully. "I told her you're a friend from the community center, that you volunteered during the holidays." Leo's gaze didn't waver. "She believed me because she wants to believe good things still happen." Smart, terrifying, heartbreaking. "And what happens on Christmas Day?" Elias asked. "When I disappear?" "You'll disappear anyway." Leo's voice was matter of fact. "Everyone does. But at least you'll have 12 good days first." Elias thought about his workshop, cold and empty. Thought about the $73 in his bank account. Thought about Christmas spent alone with sawdust and silence, the way he'd spent every Christmas since his mother died. He thought about Clara's laugh, her hand on his wrist, the way she'd looked at him like he was someone worth trusting. "I'll do it," he said, "but keep your money." Leo's eyes widened. "Why?" "Because," Elias struggled for words, "because some things shouldn't cost anything." For the first time, Leo smiled, a real smile, small and fragile as a bird's egg. He carefully folded his legal pad and stood. "There are rules," Leo said. "You can't make her sad. You can't lie about important things. And if she asks about your family, I'll tell her the truth. Elias met the kid's eyes. I promise. Okay. Leo extended his hand, formal as a business executive. We have a deal. They shook, and Elias felt the trap close around him, warm and inevitable as drowning. Saturday morning arrived with fresh snow and Leo's master plan. The kid had a clipboard, an actual clipboard with a checklist, which he consulted while marching Elias through the neighborhood like a general inspecting troops. First test, Leo announced, stopping in front of the corner bakery. Mrs. Kowalski always gives free, day-old bread to families. Mom's too proud to ask. You have to ask. Elias stared at the shop window, festive with painted snowflakes and light strings. Inside, an elderly woman was arranging croissants. You want me to beg for bread? I want you to prove you're not too proud to help. Leo's voice was calm, clinical. Mom needs someone who understands that pride is expensive. The kid was 6 going on 60. Elias sighed and pushed open the door. Mrs. Kowalski looked up, flour dusting her apron. Can I help you? Elias cleared his throat. I heard you sometimes have day-old items. I'm helping a friend with a family and… Clara's boy put you up to this, didn't he? Mrs. Kowalski's eyes crinkled. That child is too clever by half. She filled a paper bag with rolls, added some cookies. Tell Clara she doesn't need to send handsome strangers. She can ask herself. Thank you, Elias said, accepting the bag. Outside, Leo made a check mark. Good. Test 2, the hardware store. Mr. Chen's hinges are broken on his shed. You have to fix them. With what tools? Yours. Leo pointed to Elias's truck, parked 2 blocks over. I know you keep everything in there. I looked. Of course he did. They spent the next hour at Mr. Chen's house. The old man spoke minimal English, but communicated in smiles and thermos tea while Elias worked. The hinges were simple, rusted screws, misaligned frame, the kind of fix that took 20 minutes, but meant the difference between a functional shed and a winter disaster. When Elias finished, Mr. Chen tried to pay him. Elias refused. The old man's face broke into a grin, and he pressed a bag of homemade dumplings into Elias's hands instead. Leo checked his list. Test 3, the park. There's a dog. A dog. Mom loves dogs, but our building doesn't allow them. If you see one, you have to pet it. Show me you're not afraid of commitment. Elias stared at this tiny psychologist in a Star Wars jacket. You're comparing me to a dog? I'm comparing you to dog ownership. It's a responsibility, daily care, unconditional presence. Leo's face was serious. Can you handle that? The park was 3 blocks away, covered in fresh snow. Kids were building a snowman. A golden retriever bounded past, trailing a leash. That one, Leo said. Elias caught the leash. The dog immediately jumped up, paws muddy, tongue lolling. A young woman jogged over, breathless and apologetic. I'm so sorry, she just… Thank you. She took the leash, smiled at Elias. You're a lifesaver. No problem, Elias said. The dog licked his hand, tail wagging so hard her whole body shook. Something in his chest loosened. When was the last time anything had been this happy to see him? Leo was watching, evaluating. Finally, he nodded. Okay. Okay what? You pass. Leo tucked his clipboard under his arm. You're not perfect, but you're trying. That's what matters. They walked back Clara's building in comfortable silence. Snow crunched under their feet. The neighborhood was the kind of place that still put wreaths on doors and lights in windows. Not expensive, just persistent. Refusing to let winter be only cold. Why are you really doing this? Elias asked quietly. The truth. Leo was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was smaller, younger. Because last Christmas, Dad left on Christmas Eve. Mom put me to bed, and when I woke up, he was gone. She pretended everything was fine, made pancakes, sang carols, but her hands were shaking the whole time. He looked up at Elias. I don't want her hands to shake this year. I want her to be steady. Elias crouched down, eye level. Leo, I can't promise I'll fix everything. I can't replace your dad. I don't want you to replace him. I want you to be better. The simple honesty of it gutted Elias. He thought about the job offer in his email, the one-way ticket to Seattle waiting in his inbox, the deadline to accept, December 26th. His escape route from this dead-end city and this dead-end life. He looked at Leo's serious face, thought about Clara's tired smile. I'll try, Elias said. I promise I'll try. Leo held out his hand again. They shook, and Elias wondered when he'd started making promises he had no idea how to keep. The grocery store was a mistake. Elias realized this the moment he saw Clara in the produce section, debating between two bundles of carrots like they held the secrets of the universe. She wore scrubs under her winter coat, pale blue, spotted with coffee stains. Her hair was in a braid, messy and practical. She looked perfect. Elias froze by the bread aisle, his basket holding beer and frozen pizza, the dinner of champions. He should leave, should slip out before she noticed. But then she looked up. Recognition bloomed across her face, then confusion. Elias? Clara, hi. He managed a smile. Fancy meeting you here. In the only grocery store in a 5-block radius? Her lips quirked. Yeah, total coincidence. They gravitated toward each other, the way people do when they're the only familiar faces in a sea of strangers. Clara glanced at his basket, one eyebrow raising. Gourmet dinner plans? I'm a man of refined tastes. Clearly, she added carrots to her own basket, the cheaper bundle, he noticed. Leo won't stop talking about you, by the way. Apparently, you're his new favorite person. He's a good kid. He's a menace. But Clara said it with affection. He told me you're helping at the community center, teaching woodworking to at-risk youth. Elias's mind scrambled. That wasn't even close to what Leo had said. The kid was improving the cover story as he went. Something like that, Elias said carefully. Clara shifted her basket to her other arm. This close, Elias could see the exhaustion under her eyes, the way her shoulders carried tension like a physical weight. You look tired, he said before he could stop himself. Double shift, 12 hours on my feet, very glamorous. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Sometimes I fantasize about jobs where you sit down, like being a writer or a professional couch tester. You still write? When? Between bedtime stories and insurance paperwork? She shook her head. I opened my laptop last week, stared at a blank page for 20 minutes. Then Leo needed help with homework, and I gave up. The defeat in her voice made Elias want to fix something, build something, give her a room with a lock and 8 hours of silence. What kind of stories? He asked instead. Romance, the kind where people actually get happy endings. Clara laughed, bitter and small. Ironic, right? Maybe you just need the right inspiration. The words hung between them. Clara's eyes met his, and for a moment the fluorescent grocery store lights felt like something softer, kinder. Maybe, she said quietly. An old woman squeezed past them, muttering about young people blocking aisles. The spell broke. Clara stepped back, clearing her throat. Leo's with a neighbor, and I promised I'd be back by 7. Right, yeah. They stood there, neither moving. Elias wondered if she felt it too, the pull, the sense that walking away from this moment was leaving something important behind. Elias? Clara's voice was softer now, uncertain. Would you want to? Leo asked if you'd come to dinner tomorrow. Nothing fancy, just spaghetti and… I'm rambling, sorry. I'd love to, Elias said, too fast, too eager. He tried to recover. If it's not an imposition… It's not, Clara smiled, and this time it reached her eyes. 6 o'clock? I'll be there. She touched his arm, brief, casual, and walked toward the checkout. Elias watched her go, his frozen pizza forgotten, his heart doing something stupid and dangerous in his chest. He was so screwed. Sunday evening. Elias knocked on Clara's door at exactly 6 p.m., holding a bottle of wine he'd spent too much money on and a bag of groceries he definitely couldn't afford. Through the door, he heard laughter. Clara and Leo, voices overlapping in warmth. Clara opened the door in jeans and an oversized sweater, flour on her nose. "You're punctual. I like that." Former architecture student. We're trained to fear being late. Former? She stepped aside to let him in. The apartment smelled like garlic and tomato sauce, like home. What happened? Money happened. My uncle died, left me his tools and a workshop full of debt. I dropped out to keep it running. Elias set down his offerings. Turns out finishing buildings pays better than designing them. Clara was quiet, studying him with that careful attention she gave everything. "Do you regret it?" "Sometimes. Late at night when I can't sleep. I think about the buildings I'll never make." He shrugged. "But then I fix someone's table. Or build a bookshelf. Small things. They matter too." "They do," Clara said softly. Leo appeared from his room, wielding a wooden spoon like a sword. "You're here. Good. Mom's burning the garlic bread again." "I am not." Clara grabbed the spoon, pointing it at her son. "Traitor." "Realist." They bickered while Elias stood in the doorway watching. This was their rhythm. Gentle teasing, easy laughter. The kind of relationship built on foundation cracks and still standing. He wanted to memorize it. Wanted to be part of it so badly it hurt. Dinner was chaos in the best way. Leo told elaborate stories about school involving a hamster escape and a fire drill. Clara argued that his version was at least 40% fiction. Elias refereed, laughing until his sides ached. After, while Leo watched a documentary about Mars rovers, Clara and Elias cleaned up. They moved around the kitchen like dancers learning choreography, passing plates, bumping hips, hands brushing in soapy water. "Thank you," Clara said quietly, "for this, for being—" She struggled for words. "For being easy to be around." "You say that like it's rare." "It is." She handed him a dish to dry. "Most people want something, or they're waiting to leave. You're just here." Elias thought about Seattle, about the email sitting in his drafts folder, acceptance letter half-written, about leaving in 11 days. He should tell her, should admit this had an expiration date. Instead, he dried the dish, set it carefully in the cupboard. "I like being here," he said. The truth, even if it was incomplete. Clara smiled, soft and dangerous. "Good." They finished cleaning. Through the wall, they could hear the neighbor's TV playing Christmas movies, someone singing Sinatra off-key. The tree lights blinked their slow rhythm. Leo called out, "Can Elias stay for the movie?" "Leo, he probably has—" "I can stay," Elias said. Clara's smile widened. They settled on the couch, Leo in the middle, Clara on one side, Elias on the other. The kids' documentary was actually fascinating, full of robots and red dust and impossible dreams. Halfway through, Leo fell asleep, head drooping against Clara's shoulder. "He likes you," Clara whispered. "He doesn't trust easily, but you, he trusts you." "I'm not—" Elias stopped. What could he say? "I'm not trustworthy. I'm leaving. This is temporary. I'm not used to this." "To what?" "This. Family dinners, movie nights, people who want me around." Clara shifted slightly, careful not to wake Leo. "Well, get used to it." She reached across her sleeping son, fingers finding Elias's hand. Just holding it. Simple. Devastating. Elias looked down at their joined hands, at Leo sleeping between them, at the life he desperately wanted and had no right to keep. The TV played footage of Mars, red and lonely and impossibly far away. Elias thought about distance, about escape velocity, about what it cost to leave atmosphere and what it cost to stay grounded. He squeezed Clara's hand. She squeezed back. And Elias knew with sinking certainty that walking away from this was going to destroy him. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Email notification. Subject line, Seattle, position. Response required by December 26th. He ignored it. For now, he just held Clara's hand and pretended this could last forever. Wednesday night, Clara's bookshelf tilted at a dangerous angle, books stacked haphazardly to compensate for the broken support beam. Elias stood in front of it with his toolbox, while Clara hovered nearby with Leo's homework in one hand and a mug of tea in the other. "You don't have to fix it," Clara said for the third time. "I've been meaning to call someone." "I'm someone." Elias pulled out his level, pencil tucked behind his ear. "Besides, this is a safety hazard. One good sneeze and your entire romance collection becomes an avalanche." Clara flushed. "You notice the genre, huh?" "Hard not to when half the spines have shirtless men and declarations of eternal love." He grinned. "No judgment. Everyone needs an escape." The apartment was quiet. Leo was at a sleepover, Clara's neighbor's kid's birthday. For the first time since this started, they were alone. Really alone. The awareness of it hung in the air like charged particles before a storm. Elias worked in silence, removing books, unscrewing the old bracket. The wood was cheap particle board, never meant to hold this much weight. He'd need to reinforce it with proper lumber, maybe add a second support beam. "Hand me the drill?" he asked. Clara moved closer, close enough that he caught her scent, something clean and soft, like cotton in rain. She passed him the tool, fingers brushing his. Neither of them pulled away immediately. "You're good at this," she said quietly. "I've had practice. My uncle taught me to see problems in layers. Surface issue, structural issue, preventive issue." He marked measurements on the wall. "This shelf isn't broken because of the bracket. It's broken because whoever installed it didn't account for the weight distribution over time." That's very philosophical for carpentry. Carpentry is philosophy. You're just working with wood instead of words. He glanced at her. "What are you working on, writing-wise?" Clara sighed, leaning against the wall. "Nothing. Everything. I have 17 unfinished manuscripts on my laptop. Stories about people who find love in bakeries and coffee shops and," she gestured vaguely, "places where love is easy." "Love is never easy." "No." Her voice went soft. "But in my stories, it works out. The right people find each other. They fight through the obstacles. They choose each other." She paused. "Real life isn't like that." Elias set down the drill, turning to face her fully. They were inches apart in the small space between bookshelf and wall. "What happened with your ex, if you don't mind me asking?" Clara was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was steady but small. "David was a musician, a good one. We met at an open mic night. I was reading poetry, he was playing guitar. Very romantic." A bitter smile. "He said he wanted a family, said Leo was the best thing that ever happened to him. Then one morning he woke up and decided he was 29 and hadn't lived yet, hadn't toured, hadn't made it big. And we were," her breath hitched, "we were holding him back." "That's not on you," Elias said firmly. "I know, logically I know, but Leo asked me for 2 years why Daddy didn't come back, and I didn't have an answer. Still don't." She met Elias's eyes. "How do you explain to a 4-year-old that some people are built to leave?" Elias thought about his brother, who'd vanished into a new life with a new family. Thought about his mother's funeral, empty except for him and the priest. Thought about every foster home that had sent him back, every relationship that had ended before it started, because he was too much work, too damaged, too... "You don't explain it," he said. "You just love them louder than the people who left." Clara's eyes filled with tears. She wiped them quickly, laughing. "Sorry, I don't usually..." "Don't apologize." Elias reached out, thumb catching a tear she'd missed. "You're allowed to be sad." Her hand came up, covering his. They stood like that, frozen in a moment that felt too fragile to name. The bookshelf forgotten, the world narrowed to just this, her hand on his, her eyes on his face, the space between them shrinking. Elias, Clara whispered, I don't know what this is, but His phone rang, loud and jarring in the quiet apartment. They jerked apart. Elias grabbed it, saw the number. Seattle area code. His stomach dropped. I should, he gestured helplessly. Take it, Clara said, stepping back. I'll make more tea. She disappeared into the kitchen. Elias answered, voice rough. Hello? Mr. Voss, this is Amanda Chen from Cornerstone Architecture. Just following up on our offer. We'd love to have you start January 2nd, but we need your confirmation by the 26th. Will that work? The bookshelf, the apartment, Clara in the kitchen, making tea like this was home. Yes, I'll have an answer by then. Wonderful. We're excited to have you on the team. This is a real opportunity, Mr. Voss. Life-changing. Life-ending, Elias thought, but he said, thank you, I appreciate it. He hung up. Clara returned with 2 mugs, her expression carefully neutral. Important call? Just work stuff. The lie tasted like ash. Clara handed him his tea, and they went back to the bookshelf. But the moment was gone. The air between them felt colder now, full of things unsaid. Elias finished the repair in silence, reinforcing the structure until it could hold twice the weight, strong enough to last for years. He just wouldn't be here to see it. Friday afternoon, the Christmas market sprawled across the town square, all twinkle lights and roasted chestnuts and children shrieking with sugar-fueled joy. Leo dragged Elias from stall to stall, comparing handmade ornaments with the precision of an art critic, while Clara followed with hot cider and a smile that made Elias's chest hurt. This one, Leo announced, holding up a wooden star, for the tree. We don't have a tree yet, Clara reminded him. We will. Elias is helping us get one tomorrow, right? Leo looked up at Elias with complete trust, as if the answer was never in doubt. Right, Elias heard himself say. They bought the star. Bought 3 more ornaments Leo declared architecturally significant. Clara tried to pay, but Elias slipped the vendor cash first, ignoring her protest. You don't have to keep doing that, she said as they walked toward the food stalls. Doing what? Paying for things, being, she gestured vaguely, perfect. I'm not perfect. You fixed my bookshelf. You make Leo laugh. You showed up to a Christmas market in freezing weather just because a 6-year-old asked you to. Clara stopped walking, turning to face him. That's pretty close to perfect in my book. The market noise faded. Elias was hyper-aware of every detail, the way snowflakes caught in Clara's hair, the flush in her cheeks from cold, the soft curve of her mouth. He wanted to kiss her, wanted it so badly his hands shook. Clara. Mom, Elias, they have a carousel. Leo's voice cut through the moment. Can we, please? Clara laughed, the spell breaking. All right, one ride. The carousel was old-fashioned, all painted horses and organ music. Leo chose a white stallion, climbing on with serious concentration. Clara stood beside him, one hand on Leo's back for safety. Elias took the horse next to them, a black one with a wild mane. The ride started, up and down, around and around. Leo whooped with joy. Clara caught Elias's eye and smiled, and for a moment, just a moment, Elias let himself believe this was real, that he was the kind of man who got to keep this, who deserved it. The carousel spun, and through the blur of lights and music, Elias saw his future. 2 paths diverging. Seattle, success, stability, the architecture career he dreamed of since he was 12. Here, Clara's smile, Leo's trust, a life built on borrowed time and broken foundations. He knew which one he should choose, knew which one made sense. But sense had nothing to do with the way Clara looked at him when the ride ended, breathless and happy, like he'd given her something precious. Best carousel ride ever, Leo declared, jumping down. Agreed, Clara said softly, eyes still on Elias. They walked back through the market. Leo ran ahead, chasing pigeons. Clara's hand found Elias's, casual and sure, like it belonged there. Thank you for this, she said. For all of it. Elias squeezed her hand. Any time. Another lie, but a beautiful one. Saturday morning, tree shopping was supposed to be simple. Leo had a list of requirements. 6 to 7 feet tall, full branches, no bald spots, smells like actual forest. Clara had a budget, $40 maximum, and I'm being generous. Elias pulled his truck up to the tree lot, where a teenage attendant was smoking behind a pile of pines and clearly hating his seasonal job. How much for the big one? Leo pointed to a massive Douglas fir that definitely violated both height and price requirements. The kid barely looked up. 120. We'll take the smaller spruce, Clara said quickly, pointing to a sad little tree in the discount corner. The $30 one. Leo's face fell. Elias felt something crack in his chest. What about that one? He pointed to a blue spruce, full and perfect, 6 feet exactly. How much? 75. Clara shook her head. Elias, we can't. Consider it an early Christmas gift, Elias said. To the attendant, we'll take it. Elias, no. But Leo was already running to the tree, circling it with his checklist. Full branches, check. Symmetrical, check. Smells amazing, check. The attendant loaded it into Elias's truck. Clara stood with her arms crossed, torn between gratitude and something that looked like guilt. You can't keep doing this, she said quietly. Doing what? Swooping in and fixing things, playing hero. Her voice was gentle but firm. I need to be able to take care of my son myself. Elias understood. Pride was expensive, but it was all some people had left. I'm not trying to replace you or rescue you. He struggled for words. I just want to help. Is that okay? Clara's expression softened. Yeah, it's okay. She touched his arm. But next time, at least pretend to consult me first. Deal. They drove back to her apartment, Leo chattering in the back seat about optimal ornament placement strategies. Getting the tree up the stairs was a comedy of errors. Too wide for the stairwell, too tall for the landing. They tilted and cursed and laughed until Mrs. Chen from 3B came out and offered directional advice in Cantonese. Finally, they wrestled it into Clara's living room. It dominated the small space, branches filling every corner with the smell of winter and wild things. It's perfect, Leo breathed. It's massive, Clara corrected, but she was smiling. They spent the afternoon decorating. Clara had boxes of ornaments, some store-bought, most handmade. Leo's kindergarten snowflake, a felt reindeer missing one antler, a glass ball with a photo of Clara and Leo from 3 Christmases ago, both of them laughing. No photos of David, Elias noticed. Where do you want the star? Elias asked, holding up the wooden one from the market. You should put it up, Leo said. You're tallest. Clara handed Elias the step stool. He climbed carefully, reaching for the top branch. Clara steadied the stool, hands on his back, and Elias was suddenly painfully aware of her touch, of how right this felt, of how temporary it was. The star clicked into place. Perfect. Now the lights, Leo commanded. They strung lights for an hour. Every time Elias thought they were done, Leo found another bare spot. Clara kept getting tangled in cords, laughing every time Elias had to untangle her. Their hands brushed. Their eyes met. The apartment grew darker outside, but inside it glowed. When they finally finished, Clara turned off all the other lights. The tree blazed, gold and white, magic and memory. Best tree ever, Leo said, awestruck. Clara didn't answer. She was looking at Elias, and the expression on her face made him forget how to breathe. Want. Hope. Something bigger than both. Thank you, she said softly. Elias wanted to tell her everything. Wanted to confess about Seattle, about the deadline, about how he was falling for her and had no idea how to stop. Instead, he just smiled. You're welcome. Leo yawned, exhaustion hitting him all at once. Can Elias stay for dinner? Leo, he's been here all day. I can stay, Elias said, because he was weak, because he couldn't walk away from her yet. Clara's smile was worth every second of the heartbreak waiting for him. Dinner was leftover Chinese food and Christmas cookies still warm from the oven. They ate on the couch, the tree lights casting everything in soft amber, while some old movie played on TV, Jimmy Stewart and Angels in Small Town Miracles. Leo fell asleep before the ending, curled against Clara's side with a half-eaten cookie in his hand. She carried him to bed, leaving Elias alone with the tree and the weight of his own deception. When she came back, she sat closer than before. Not touching, but close enough that Elias could feel her warmth. He's getting attached to you, Clara said quietly. I'm getting attached to him too. That scares me. She turned to look at him. I don't know anything about you. Not really. Where you live, what you want, if you're staying or... She stopped. I don't even know if you're seeing someone else. The question hung between them. Elias should lie, should create distance. Instead, he told the truth. There's no one else. There hasn't been anyone in a long time. He met her eyes. I live in a workshop 3 miles from here. Sleep on a cot next to my table saw. I eat cereal for dinner, and I'm 2 months behind on bills. I dropped out of school because my uncle died and left me debt disguised as inheritance. His voice went rough. I'm not perfect, Clara. I'm barely functional most days. Clara absorbed this. Then, carefully, why did you come that first night, when Leo called you Santa? Because I needed $500 to keep from being evicted. And why did you stay? Elias looked at the tree, at the apartment that wasn't his, at the life he'd stumbled into like a thief. Because I forgot what it felt like to be wanted. The silence stretched. Then Clara's hand found his, lacing their fingers together. I'm scared too, she admitted. David left and I told myself I was done, that Leo and I were enough, that I didn't need anyone. She squeezed his hand. But then you showed up in a shitty Santa suit, and you were kind to my son, and you fixed my bookshelf, and you're... Her voice cracked. You're here, actually here, and I don't know what to do with that. What do you want to do with it? Clara turned toward him. The tree lights reflected in her eyes, turning them gold and green. This. She kissed him, soft at first, tentative, then deeper, her hand coming up to cup his jaw, his fingers tangling in her hair. She tasted like sugar and hope and every good thing Elias had convinced himself he didn't deserve. When they broke apart, breathless, Clara whispered, "Stay tonight, please." Elias should say no, should leave before this got more complicated, before he hurt them both beyond repair. Okay, he said instead. They fell asleep on the couch, tangled together under a blanket, the tree lights still burning. And Elias dreamed of impossible things, of mornings like this one, of Leo's laugh, of Clara's hand in his, of a future he had no right to want. His phone buzzed in his pocket, another email, another reminder that in 7 days he had to choose. He ignored it and pulled Clara closer. Monday morning came too soon. Elias woke to Leo standing over him, poking his shoulder with scientific curiosity. "Did you sleep here?" Leo whispered. "Yeah, on the couch." Elias sat up, careful not to wake Clara, still curled against him. "Is that okay?" Leo considered this. "Are you dating my mom?" No easy answer existed. "I don't know. Maybe. Would that bother you?" "No." Leo climbed onto the couch, settling on Elias's other side. "But I have a question." "Shoot." "Are you going to leave, like my dad did?" The question was a knife between Elias's ribs. He wanted to lie, wanted to promise he'd stay forever, but Leo deserved better than another broken promise. I don't want to leave, Elias said carefully, but sometimes life is complicated. That's what Dad said, before he left. Leo's voice was matter-of-fact, but his hands were shaking. He said he loved us, but things were complicated. Clara stirred, blinking awake. She saw them, Leo and Elias on the couch, and smiled, soft and sleepy and trusting. Elias felt like the worst person alive. I need to tell you something, he started. But Leo's school alarm went off, loud and insistent. The moment shattered. Clara stretched, checked the time, swore softly. We're late. Leo, go brush your teeth. Elias, She paused, uncertain. Thank you for staying. Anytime. Another lie, another weight on his conscience. He left while they got ready for school, promising to text later. In his truck, he sat in the cold December morning and stared at his phone. 2 unread emails. Subject lines, Seattle position, final confirmation needed, and workshop lease, eviction proceedings. 2 deadlines, 2 impossible choices. Stay, lose his career, lose his workshop, probably lose everything anyway when Clara found out he'd been lying. Go, keep his dreams alive, start fresh, leave behind the first people who'd made him feel like he mattered in years. Elias put his head on the steering wheel and tried to remember when his life had become a choose-your-own disaster novel. Wednesday evening. Clara's neighbor was hosting a cookie exchange, and somehow Elias got drafted into helping. The neighbor's apartment was full of women in festive sweaters, comparing recipes and gossiping about the building's new landlord. Elias stood in the corner with a plate of snickerdoodles, feeling wildly out of place. Clara found him there, pressed a glass of wine into his hand. Surviving? Barely. Mrs. Kowalski asked if my intentions toward you were honorable. What did you say? That I'm still figuring out my intentions toward myself, so the jury's out. Clara laughed, but it faded quickly. Can we talk? Somewhere quieter? They escaped to the building's back stairwell. Cold concrete, flickering lights, the distant sound of traffic. Clara wrapped her arms around herself, breath misting in the chill. I need to ask you something, she said, and I need you to be honest. Elias's stomach dropped. Okay. Is there something you're not telling me? About where you live, or what you do, or... She searched his face. I feel like you're holding back, like there's a part of you I'm not seeing. This was it, the moment to come clean, to tell her about Seattle, about the eviction, about how he was a disaster masquerading as stability. He stopped, started again. My life is complicated right now. I'm dealing with some things, money stuff, work stuff, but it's nothing you need to worry about. Elias, she stepped closer. If we're doing this, if this is real, I need to know I can trust you. You can. Can I? Her voice was soft but sharp. Because David used to say the same thing. Used to tell me everything was fine right up until the day he packed his guitar and left. I'm not David. Then prove it. Let me in. Tell me what's going on. Elias wanted to lay everything bare, his failures, his fears, the job offer that could save him or destroy them. But the words stuck in his throat, trapped behind years of learning that vulnerability only led to abandonment. I'm not good at this, he said finally, at letting people see the messy parts. I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to be honest. The stairwell door opened. Leo appeared, holding a cookie the size of his face. Mom, Mrs. Chen says you promised to share your frosting recipe. The moment dissolved. Clara sighed, gave Elias one last searching look, then followed Leo back inside. Elias stayed in the stairwell, alone with his cowardice and his lies. His phone rang. Seattle again. This time he let it go to voicemail. Thursday night, Elias worked late in his workshop trying to finish a custom jewelry box for a client. The space was freezing. Heat cost money he didn't have. His hands shook as he sanded the lid. Whether from cold or exhaustion or guilt, he couldn't tell. The eviction notice was pinned to his bulletin board. Final date, December 26, same day as the Seattle deadline. The universe had a sick sense of humor. His phone buzzed. Text from Clara. Leo wants to know if you can help us make gingerbread houses tomorrow. No pressure. Followed immediately by, okay, maybe some pressure. He's been talking about it all day. Elias smiled despite everything. Typed back, I'll be there. What time? 6 p.m. Bring your patience. Gingerbread architecture is apparently very serious business. Another text, after a pause. I'm sorry about yesterday. I didn't mean to push. Take your time. Elias stared at the words. Clara was giving him space, giving him time. She had no idea time was the one thing he didn't have. He should tell her, should call right now and explain everything. Instead, he texted, nothing to apologize for. See you tomorrow. He worked until 2 a.m., perfecting the jewelry box's dovetail joints. When he finally crawled onto his cot, he dreamed of houses made of gingerbread, sweet and fragile and destined to crumble. Friday at 6 p.m., Clara's kitchen table was covered in graham crackers, icing, and enough candy to put a small child into a sugar coma. Leo had blueprints, actual blueprints he'd drawn with architectural precision. The roof needs a 30-degree pitch for optimal stability, Leo explained, pointing at his diagram. And the walls require triple-thick icing for load-bearing purposes. You're terrifying, Elias said, impressed. I'm thorough. They built for 2 hours. Leo's house was a masterpiece, structurally sound, aesthetically perfect. Clara's collapsed twice and ended up looking like a modern art installation. Elias's was simple but solid, with clean lines and hidden reinforcements. You build like you're building for real, Clara observed, watching him work. Force of habit. If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. Even gingerbread houses, especially gingerbread houses. They're someone's memory, someone's Christmas. He met her eyes. That matters. Leo yawned, frosting in his hair. Clara declared bedtime, carried her protesting son away. When she returned, Elias was cleaning up, scraping dried icing off the table. Leave it, Clara said. I'll do it tomorrow. It's already half done. They cleaned in comfortable silence. Then Clara poured 2 glasses of wine, led him to the couch. The gingerbread houses sat on the table, 3 different approaches to the same problem. Leo's precision, Clara's chaos, Elias's careful control. I've been thinking, Clara said, about what you said, about not being good at letting people in. She turned to face him. I'm not good at it either. After David left, I built walls, told myself it was for Leo's protection, but really it was for mine. Walls keep you safe. They also keep you alone. She took his hand. I don't want to be alone anymore, and I don't think you do either. Elias's chest tightened. Clara, you don't have to tell me everything right now, but eventually, if this is going to work, I need to know who you really are. All of you. The messy parts too. What if the messy parts are too much? Then we'll figure it out together. She squeezed his hand. That's what people do when they care about each other. Care. Such a small word for the enormity of what Elias felt. He looked at Clara, at her tired eyes and hopeful smile, at the woman who'd let him into her life despite every reason not to, and felt something inside him crack. I'm falling for you, he said, raw, honest, terrified, and it scares the hell out of me. Clara's smile was soft, devastating. Good, because I'm falling for you too. She kissed him, slow and sweet and full of promise, and Elias kissed her back, knowing he was making it worse, knowing he should stop, knowing he was too weak to walk away. When they broke apart, Clara rested her forehead against his. "Stay," she whispered. "Please stay." So he did. And later, in Clara's bed with her sleeping in his arms, Elias stared at the ceiling and made a decision. He'd tell her. Tomorrow, before it was too late. He'd come clean about Seattle, about the eviction, about everything. And if she hated him, at least she'd hate him for the truth. His phone glowed on the nightstand. Final email from Seattle. "Mr. Voss, this is your last reminder. Please confirm by December 26th or we'll move forward with our second candidate." 3 days until he had to choose. Elias pulled Clara closer and tried to memorize the weight of her against him, the sound of her breathing, the way she fit perfectly in the space between his arm and his chest. Tomorrow he'd tell her everything. Tonight he'd just hold on. Saturday morning, Elias woke to Leo sitting at the foot of the bed, reading a book about black holes. Clara was still asleep, one hand draped across Elias's chest. "Does Mom know you're in here?" Elias whispered. "She said you stayed over a lot now. I deduced." Leo turned a page calmly. "Also, you're both very loud, especially when you're cooking breakfast together." Elias felt his face heat. "We're not, relax. I'm glad you're here." Leo closed his book. "But I need to talk to you, privately." They relocated to the kitchen. Leo made himself cereal with the efficiency of a tiny adult, then sat across from Elias at the table. "Christmas is in 2 days," Leo said. "I'm aware. Are you still going to be here? For Christmas?" The question was a trap. Elias could feel the jaws closing around him. "Why do you ask?" "Because I heard you on the phone 2 nights ago when you were fixing the sink. Someone called about a job in Seattle. You said you'd have an answer by the 26th. Shit. "Leo, are you leaving?" The kid's voice stayed level, but his hands gripped the cereal spoon too tight. "After Christmas?" Elias couldn't lie. Not to this kid who'd seen through every adult defense mechanism, who'd trusted him when trust was the most valuable thing he had. "I don't know," Elias said honestly. "I have a job offer, a really good one. It could change my life, but He stopped. "How did you explain to a 6-year-old that you were drowning, that this offer was a lifeboat, that staying meant going under?" "You're going to leave," Leo said flatly, "like my dad." "It's not the same." "It's exactly the same." Leo stood up, chair scraping. "You made us care about you, made Mom happy, made me think." His voice cracked. "I thought you were different." "Leo, please." But the kid was already walking away, shoulders rigid with betrayal. His bedroom door closed with devastating quietness. No slam, just the soft click of a child who'd learned that anger was less useful than control. Elias sat at the kitchen table, surrounded by evidence of a life he'd invaded. Leo's homework, Clara's coffee mug, the gingerbread houses still on display, slowly going stale. He heard movement behind him. Clara stood in the doorway in an oversized t-shirt, hair messy from sleep. "What was that about?" she asked. And Elias knew. This was the moment. No more delays, no more excuses. "We need to talk." They sat on the couch. The tree lights were off. Morning sun came through the windows, cold and unforgiving. Elias told her everything. About the workshop drowning in his uncle's debt, about the eviction notice, about the Seattle job offer, prestigious firm, actual salary, benefits, the kind of opportunity that came once in a lifetime. About the deadline, December 26th. About how he'd been trying to figure out how to tell her for weeks. Clara listened. Her face went carefully blank, the expression of someone who'd heard promises break before. When he finished, the silence was crushing. "So you're leaving," she said finally. "I don't know. I haven't decided." "Bullshit." Her voice was quiet but sharp. "You decided the moment you applied for that job. You just didn't have the guts to tell me." "That's not fair." "Fair?" Clara stood up, arms wrapped around herself. You let me fall for you. Let Leo get attached, knowing the whole time you had one foot out the door. I didn't mean... What did you mean, Elias? When you fixed my bookshelf? When you kissed me? When you slept in my bed? Her voice broke. What was this to you? A nice distraction before you left? No. God, no. Elias stood, reaching for her. She stepped back. Clara, I care about you. About Leo. This is real. Then stay. She looked at him, eyes bright with tears she wouldn't let fall. If it's real, stay. Turn down Seattle. We'll figure out the money thing, the workshop, whatever. We'll figure it out together. It's not that simple. It is that simple. You either want to be here or you don't. I can't just give up my career. I'm not asking you to give it up. I'm asking you to choose us. To choose this. She gestured at the apartment. But you've already chosen, haven't you? You chose Seattle the moment you filled out that application. I was just too stupid to see it. Clara, I need you to leave. Her voice went flat, controlled. Now. Please, let me explain. There's nothing to explain. You're David with better excuses. She walked to the door, opened it. Get out. Elias grabbed his jacket, stopped at the door. I'm sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. Everyone says that. Clara's smile was bitter. Right before they leave. The door closed behind him. Elias stood in the hallway, hearing Leo's muffled crying through the wall, hearing Clara's footsteps as she went to comfort her son. He'd broken them, both of them. His phone buzzed. Email notification. Mr. Voss, we haven't received your confirmation. Please respond within 24 hours. Elias walked down the stairs and out into the December cold. Alone. Again. Exactly like he deserved. Sunday. The workshop was silent except for the sound of Elias sanding a table leg for a client who'd probably never pick it up. He'd been here since yesterday, working through the night, trying to exhaust himself into not feeling. It wasn't working. His phone sat on the workbench, screen black. He'd silenced it after the 7th call from Leo. Couldn't bear to hear the kid's voice. Couldn't bear Clara's number appearing and then disappearing as she decided whether to call. The eviction notice was still pinned to the wall. The Seattle email glowed on his laptop screen, cursor blinking in the reply field. All he had to do was type, yes. Click send. His problems would be solved. He'd have a job, an apartment, a future. He'd escape this dying city and this failing workshop and the crushing weight of other people's expectations. All he had to lose was everything that mattered. Fuck, Elias said to the empty room. The door opened. Elias looked up, hope flaring. Maybe Clara, maybe she'd come too. But it was Leo. 6 years old, in a puffy jacket 3 sizes too big, standing in the doorway of a stranger's workshop like a tiny detective on a case. How did you find me? Elias asked. Mrs. Chen told me where you work. I took the bus. Leo walked in, assessing the space with his usual analytical precision. This is where you live? Elias looked at his workshop with fresh eyes. The cot in the corner, the hot plate, the sleeping bag that smelled like sawdust in desperation. Yeah, it's cold. I'm behind on heat. Leo nodded, pulled out a folded piece of paper from his pocket, set it on the workbench. It was a drawing, stick figures, a woman, a kid, a man, standing in front of a Christmas tree. Above it, in careful letters, our family. I made this for you, Leo said, before I found out you were leaving. Elias stared at the drawing, at the simple hope contained in 3 stick figures in a triangle tree. Leo, my dad left because we weren't enough, Leo interrupted, because his music was more important. I used to think it was my fault, that if I was smarter or quieter or less, his voice wobbled, less me, maybe he would have stayed. That's not, but Mom says it wasn't about us. It was about him, about what he wanted. Leo looked up, eyes bright with tears he wouldn't let fall. So I'm asking you, what do you want, Elias? The question gutted him. What did he want? He wanted to build buildings that touched the sky, wanted to prove he was more than his uncle's debt and his mother's death, and every foster home that said he'd never amount to anything. Wanted success so badly he could taste it, sharp and necessary as air. But he also wanted this. Wanted Clara's laugh and Leo's trust, and Christmas mornings with people who chose him. Wanted to belong somewhere, to someone, to a family built on gingerbread and broken bookshelves and impossible hope. I want, Elias's voice cracked. I don't know. Then figure it out. Leo picked up his drawing. But do it fast, because Christmas is in 2 days, and if you're not going to be there, I need to prepare my mom. He walked to the door, stopped, turned back. For what it's worth, Leo said quietly, I think you're making a mistake. Seattle will have other architects, but we won't have another you. Then he was gone. The door swung shut, and Elias was alone with the drawing Leo had left behind. 3 stick figures holding hands under a tree, smiling like they believed happiness was possible. He picked up his phone, dialed. It rang once, twice. Cornerstone Architecture, Amanda Chen speaking. This is Elias Voss, he said. About the position, I need more time. Monday, 2 days until Christmas. Elias stood outside Clara's apartment building in the snow, holding a box of her favorite pastries from Mrs. Kowalski's bakery and trying to find courage. He knocked, once, twice. The door opened. Clara stood there in scrubs, clearly about to leave for a shift. Her face was tired, guarded. Hi, Elias said. Hi. Silence, painful and vast. Can we talk? He asked. I have work in 20 minutes. Then I'll be fast. He held out the pastries. Peace offering? Clara didn't take them. Elias, I can't do this. I can't. Her voice cracked. I can't let you in again just to watch you leave. I'm not leaving. She blinked. What? I called Seattle, told them I needed more time. I'm trying to figure out, he struggled for words. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way to make this work. All of it. The job, the workshop, us. There's no us, Clara said softly. You made that clear. I was wrong. I was scared and stupid and Elias set down the pastries, ran his hands through his hair. I spent my whole life learning that people leave, that wanting things makes you weak, that the only person you can count on is yourself. And then I met you, and Leo, and for the first time I wanted to stay, but I didn't know how to choose you without giving up everything I've worked for. So you chose the job. No, I chose cowardice. He met her eyes. I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. I should have told you sooner. Should have trusted you with the truth. Clara leaned against the doorframe. What changed? Leo came to see me, brought a drawing, asked me what I wanted. Elias pulled out the crumpled paper, our family in crayon. And I realized I've been asking the wrong question. It's not, what do I want? It's, what am I willing to fight for? And? You, Leo, this. He gestured at her apartment. Even if it's messy, even if it's hard, I want to fight for this. Clara was quiet. Then, what about Seattle? I don't know. I'm trying to find a middle ground. Maybe remote work, maybe turning them down. Maybe, he shook his head. I don't have all the answers, but I know I don't want to lose you while I figure it out. Elias, Clara's voice was soft but firm. I need someone who's sure. Leo needs someone who's sure. We can't be your maybe, your backup plan. You're not. We are. Right now, we are. She touched his face briefly. I care about you, but I can't build a life on, I'm trying. I did that with David. It broke me. She picked up the pastries, handed them back. Figure out what you want, and when you're sure, Really sure. Come back. The door closed. Elias stood in the hallway, pastries in hand, heart in pieces. He'd told the truth, laid himself bare, and it still wasn't enough. Maybe it never would be. Tuesday, December 23rd. Elias spent the day calling every architect in Seattle, begging for remote options. The answer was always the same. We need you in office. That's the position. He called local firms, entry-level jobs that paid half what Seattle offered. Most weren't hiring until spring. He sat in his freezing workshop, surrounded by tools and debt, and did the math. If he turned down Seattle, he'd lose the workshop in 3 days, have no job lined up, and still owe $40,000 in his uncle's debt. He'd be starting from zero, less than zero. But if he took Seattle, he'd have stability, income, a future. He could send money back to Clara and Leo, help from a distance. Maybe, eventually, they'd understand. His phone rang, unknown number. Hello? Mr. Voss, this is Margaret Lynn from Pioneer Architecture. I heard through the grapevine you're looking for local work. Elias sat up. Yes, are you hiring? Not exactly, but I'm starting a program for emerging architects, half teaching, half design work. It pays modest, but there's a workshop space included and eventual partnership potential. What's the catch? You'd be working with at-risk youth, teaching them craft skills, woodworking, design, construction. We believe in hands-on learning. She paused. I saw your uncle's workshop before he died. He did beautiful work. I'm betting you do too. Elias looked around his workshop. At the projects half finished, the tools his uncle had trusted him with, the space that had been home longer than anywhere else. When would it start? January 15th. Gives you time to settle things. Interested? It wasn't Seattle money. Wasn't prestige or security or everything he dreamed of. But it was here, in this city, near Clara and Leo. Can I think about it? You have until the 27th. After that, I'm offering it to my second choice. One day after the Seattle deadline, the universe was fucking with him. I'll call you by then, Elias said. He hung up, stared at his two futures, lined up side by side. Seattle, safe, successful, alone. Here, risky, uncertain, but possible. His phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. It's Leo. I borrowed Mom's phone. She doesn't know. Are you coming for Christmas? Elias's hands shook as he typed. I don't know if your mom wants me there. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. She cried all last night. She only does that when she misses someone. I'm trying to fix things, Leo. I promise. Trying isn't the same as doing. The kid was right. He was 6 years old and he understood what Elias was still struggling with. At some point, you had to stop deliberating and just choose. Elias looked at the drawing on his workbench. 3 stick figures. Our family. He picked up his phone and started typing an email. Christmas Eve, 6 p.m. Clara's apartment building was lit up like a constellation. Every window glowing, every balcony strung with lights. Snow fell soft and steady, muffling the city sounds. Elias stood outside with a box under his arm, heart hammering. He'd sent the email this morning. Both of them. Seattle. Thank you, but I can't accept. Margaret Lynn. I'm interested. Let's talk details after the holiday. He'd made his choice. Now he just had to hope it was the right one. He knocked on Clara's door. Silence. Then footsteps. Leo opened the door, looked at Elias, looked at the box, didn't smile. Is your mom home? Elias asked. She's in her room, crying again. Leo's voice was accusatory. Because of you. I know, can I try to fix it? Leo studied him for a long moment, then stepped aside. Clara's bedroom door was closed. Elias knocked softly. Clara, it's me. Go away. I'm not leaving until you hear me out. Then you'll be standing there a long time. Elias sat down outside her door, back against the wall, set the box beside him. I turned down Seattle. Silence. Then the door opened. Clara stood there, eyes red, arms crossed. Why? Because Leo was right. Seattle will have other architects, but you won't have another me, and I won't have another you. He stood, held out the box. I made you something. Clara took it, suspicious, opened it. Inside was a wooden box, hand-carved, dovetail joints perfect. The lid was inlaid with a design, a tree, branches spreading wide, roots going deep. On the inside of the lid, burned into the wood, for Clara, who taught me that home isn't a place. It's the people who make you want to stay. Clara's hands shook. Elias, I'm staying. I found a local job. It doesn't pay much, but it comes with workshop space. I can make it work. He stepped closer. I want to make it work. Here, with you, if you'll let me. What about your career, your dreams? My dream was to build something that mattered. I thought that meant skyscrapers, but... He gestured at her apartment, at Leo watching from the living room. This matters more. Clara set down the box. Tears spilled over. You're sure? Really sure? I've never been more sure of anything. She kissed him, hard and desperate and full of relief. When they broke apart, Leo was standing beside them, arms crossed. So you're staying? For real this time? For real. Good. Leo held out his hand. Because I already told everyone at school you're my stepdad. It would be awkward if you left now. Elias laughed, shook the kid's hand. Wouldn't want to make things awkward. Clara pulled them both into a hug. And for the first time in his life, Elias understood what people meant when they said, home. It wasn't a workshop or a building or a city. It was this, right here, these people. Outside, the church bells started ringing, midnight approaching, Christmas beginning, and Elias was exactly where he wanted to be. Christmas morning arrived in shades of gold. Elias woke on Clara's couch to the smell of coffee and cinnamon rolls, Leo's excited whisper shouting from the kitchen, and the tree lights blinking their patient rhythm. For the first time in years, he woke up somewhere that felt like home. Clara appeared in the doorway, 2 mugs in hand, hair messy and eyes soft. She'd clearly been awake for hours, flour on her sweater, a smudge of frosting on her cheek. Beautiful in the way of tired things that refused to break. Merry Christmas, she said, handing him coffee. Merry Christmas. Elias sat up, taking the mug. Their fingers touched, lingered. Did you sleep at all? A little. I kept waking up to make sure you were still here. A small smile. Old habits. The vulnerability in her voice made Elias's chest ache. He set down the coffee, pulled her close. I'm here. I'm staying. I promise. Clara melted against him, forehead pressed to his shoulder. I know, I'm still learning to believe it. Mom! Elias! Santa came! Leo burst into the room, vibrating with barely contained excitement. And he left a note! They followed Leo to the tree. Presents were piled underneath, modest but carefully wrapped. Leo held up a piece of paper covered in elaborate handwriting. It says, Dear Leo, thank you for being brave enough to ask for what matters. Your mom is lucky to have you. P.S. The man on the couch is the real gift. Don't let him forget it. Love, Santa. Elias's throat tightened. He looked at Clara, who was definitely not crying, just had something in her eye. Who wrote this? Leo asked, suspicious but delighted. Must have been the real Santa, Clara said, voice wobbling. The official one. Leo considered this, then nodded solemnly. Makes sense. He grabbed Elias's hand. Come on, we have to open presents in order of size. It's tradition. They spent the morning drowning in wrapping paper and laughter. Leo got books about space and a telescope he immediately declared architecturally insufficient but emotionally acceptable. Clara received a scarf from Leo, knitted with uneven stitches and overwhelming love. When it was Elias's turn, Leo handed him a small box wrapped in newspaper comics. Inside was a wooden keychain, rough carved, clearly made by a 6-year-old's hands. It was shaped like a house, a home. "I made it in art class," Leo said, suddenly shy. "So you always remember where you live now?" Elias couldn't speak, could barely breathe. He just pulled Leo into a hug, feeling the kid's small arms wrapped tight around his neck. "Thank you," Elias managed. "It's perfect." Clara watched them, one hand pressed to her mouth. When their eyes met, hers were bright with tears and hope and something that looked dangerously close to love. Outside, snow began to fall again. Church bells rang in the distance. Neighbors called out holiday greetings in the hallway. The radiator clanked its familiar song. And Elias thought, this is what I was missing. Not success or prestige or escape. Just this. People who chose him. A place that felt like belonging. He attached the keychain to his keys immediately. Home. He finally had one. Breakfast was chaos and burned bacon and the best meal Elias had ever eaten. They sat around Clara's tiny table, Leo still in pajamas, Clara in an oversized sweater, Elias in yesterday's clothes, and it felt more right than anything in his careful, controlled life ever had. "So," Clara said, pouring orange juice, "tell me about this new job, the real version, not the 'I'm fine, don't worry' version." Elias set down his fork. "It's teaching, at-risk youth, woodworking and basic construction. The pay is modest, very modest, but it comes with workshop space and the possibility of partnership down the line." "You're going to teach?" Leo's eyes went wide. "Like a professor?" "More like a very patient carpenter who has to explain why sandpaper has different grits." "That sounds perfect for you," Clara said softly. "You're good at explaining things, at making people feel capable." "I don't know about that." "I do." She reached across the table, took his hand. "You made Leo trust again. You made me believe good things could happen. That's teaching." Elias looked at their joined hands, at Leo, watching them with analytical approval, at the life he'd almost thrown away for a job in a city where he knew no one and nothing. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "The pay barely covers rent. I still have my uncle's debt. I'm going to be broke for years." "Then we'll be broke together," Clara said simply. "I'm pretty good at stretching a dollar, and Leo's an expert at finding free entertainment. Right, kiddo?" "The library has 17 different programs," Leo reported, "and the park is free, and Mrs. Kowalski gives us day-old bread every Thursday." "See?" Clara smiled. "We're resourceful." "We." The words settled over Elias like a blanket. Not, "You'll figure it out," or "Good luck." We. Together. A team. "What about your writing?" Elias asked. "When do you get your turn?" Clara blinked, surprised. "What?" "You've been taking care of everyone else. When do you get to chase your dreams?" Clara stopped, started again. "I don't know. I haven't thought about it in so long." "Then start thinking about it." Elias squeezed her hand. "I'm here now. Let me help carry things. Let me give you space to write." Clara's eyes filled with tears. "You don't have to. I want to." He meant it. "You gave me a home. Let me give you back your dreams." Leo raised his orange juice. "To Mom writing books, and Elias teaching kids, and us being a family." They clinked glasses, orange juice and coffee and hope, and Elias felt something shift in his chest. The fear that had lived there for years, the certainty that he wasn't enough, started to crack. Maybe he was enough. Maybe they all were. Together. After breakfast, Clara insisted on cleaning up alone. "You two go play," she said, shooing them toward the living room. "I need 20 minutes of therapeutic dishwashing." Elias and Leo settled on the floor by the tree. The kid pulled out his new telescope, began assembling it with the focus of a surgeon. "Can I ask you something?" Leo said, not looking up from the instruction manual. Always. Are you going to marry my mom? Elias nearly choked on air. What? It's a simple question. Leo glanced up, expression serious. You're staying, you're in love with her. The logical next step is marriage. Leo, we've been dating for like 2 weeks. 17 days. But who's counting? Leo returned to the telescope. I'm just saying if you're going to be my stepdad, we should make it official. For tax purposes. Tax purposes. And emotional stability. Studies show children in stable households have better outcomes. Elias stared at this 6-year-old economist. Did you rehearse this? I made flashcards. Leo pulled a stack from his pocket. I have 12 arguments prepared. Want to hear them? Absolutely not. Argument 1. Mom smiles more when you're around. Leo. Argument 2. You fix things without being asked. Kid. Argument 3. You make really good pancakes. Elias grabbed the flashcards gently, read through them. Each one was a carefully constructed reason why he should stay, why he belonged, why they were a family. His vision blurred. These are very persuasive, he said quietly. I know, I worked hard on them. Leo paused. So, are you going to marry her? Someday, maybe, if she'll have me. Elias set down the cards. But that's a decision she and I need to make together, okay? Okay, Leo considered this. But for the record, I vote yes, in case there's a family referendum. Noted. Elias ruffled the kid's hair. You're a menace. I'm thorough, Leo corrected, then, softer. I'm also really glad you stayed. Me too, kid. Me too. They finished building the telescope together. When Clara came back, they were lying on the floor, pointing it at the ceiling and pretending to see stars. What are you two doing? She asked, laughing. Science, Leo said seriously. Extremely important science, Elias added. Clara joined them on the floor. The three of them lay there, staring at the ceiling, the telescope between them. Outside, the city hummed with Christmas, carols and laughter, and the sound of people being together. Inside, they had everything they needed. Mid-afternoon, Clara's neighbor, Mrs. Chen, invited them over for Christmas dinner. The building had a tradition. Everyone brought a dish, crammed into someone's apartment, celebrated together. A makeshift family for people far from home or estranged from blood. Clara made her famous, slightly burned, ginger cookies. Leo carried them like precious cargo. Elias brought wine and uncertainty about large social gatherings. Mrs. Chen's apartment was packed. 15 people in a space meant for 4. The smell of a dozen different cuisines mixing in glorious chaos. Languages overlapping. English, Cantonese, Spanish, Polish. Children running underfoot. Someone's grandmother teaching someone else's grandson to make dumplings. This is overwhelming, Elias muttered. This is community, Clara corrected, pulling him inside. They were absorbed immediately. Mrs. Kowalski grabbed Elias to help move furniture. Leo was recruited by a pack of kids for some elaborate game involving a balloon and complex rules. Clara disappeared into the kitchen with other women, their laughter rising above the noise. Elias found himself at a folding table with 3 elderly men who spoke minimal English but understood carpentry. They spent 20 minutes discussing joint techniques through hand gestures and shared appreciation for good craftsmanship. You're Clara's new man? One asked in heavily accented English. Yes, I guess I am. Good, she deserves good man. Last one was shit. Agreed. You stay, or you leave like shit, man. Elias looked across the room. Clara was laughing with Mrs. Chen, flour on her nose again, so beautiful it hurt. Leo was showing his telescope to a little girl, explaining focal lengths with serious precision. I'm staying, Elias said. The old man nodded, satisfied. Good, we need more good men. Too many shit ones. They toasted with homemade vodka that tasted like paint thinner and burned like redemption. Dinner was served buffet style, everyone grabbing plates, finding spaces on couches and floors and windowsills. Elias ended up squeezed between Clara and a Polish woman who kept feeding him pierogies and telling him he was too skinny. "Your family?" the woman asked, gesturing at Clara and Leo. "Yes," Elias said, and meant it. After dinner, someone produced a guitar. Carols started, off-key and multilingual and perfect. Leo fell asleep against Clara's shoulder. Elias held her hand, thumb tracing circles on her palm. "Thank you," he whispered. "For what?" "For this, for letting me be part of it." Clara kissed his cheek. "Thank you for staying." They left around 10, Leo sleepwalking between them, the city quiet under fresh snow. Back in Clara's apartment, they tucked Leo into bed, stood in his doorway, watching him sleep. "He's really happy," Clara said softly. "I haven't seen him this happy since—" She stopped. "Since before his dad left?" "Yeah." She leaned against Elias. "You did that. You gave him that." "We did that," Elias corrected. "Together." Clara turned in his arms, looked up at him. "I love you. I know it's fast and probably stupid, but I—" Elias kissed her, slow and deep and full of everything he couldn't say. When they broke apart, he pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you too," he whispered. "So much it terrifies me." "Good," Clara said. "Let's be terrified together." They stood in Leo's doorway, holding each other, and Elias thought about all the Christmases he'd spent alone. All the years he'd convinced himself he didn't need this. Love, family, home. He'd been so wrong. This was everything. This was enough. This was more than enough. Late that night, after Clara fell asleep, Elias couldn't. He slipped out to the living room, stood by the tree, the lights painting everything amber and gold. His phone buzzed. Email from Margaret Lynn. "Mr. Voss, hope you're having a lovely holiday. Wanted to reach out personally to say how excited we are about the possibility of working together. I know the salary isn't competitive with big firms, but I think you'll find the work meaningful. These kids need someone who understands what it's like to fight for a future. I think that's you. Let me know your decision by the 27th. Warmly, Margaret." Elias reread it 3 times. Meaningful work. Kids who needed someone to believe in them. A future built on teaching instead of building, on community instead of ambition. It wasn't what he'd planned, wasn't the dream he'd carried since childhood. But maybe dreams changed. Maybe the things you wanted at 12 weren't the things you needed at 28. Maybe growing up meant letting go of who you thought you'd be and embracing who you actually were. He pulled out his phone, typed, "Margaret, thank you for this opportunity. I'm in. Let's change some lives. Elias." Hit send before he could second guess. His phone buzzed immediately. "Margaret, welcome to the team. See you January 15th. P.S. Bring your patience. These kids are brilliant and impossible in equal measure." Elias smiled. Brilliant and impossible. That tracked. Behind him, Clara's door opened. She padded out in an oversized t-shirt, sleepy-eyed and soft. "Can't sleep?" she asked. "Just finalizing things." He showed her the email exchange. Clara read it, then looked up at him with shining eyes. "You're really doing this." "I'm really doing this." "Are you scared?" "Terrified." He pulled her close, but in a good way. The kind of scared that means you're about to do something that matters. Clara wrapped her arms around his waist, head against his chest. They swayed slightly. No music, just the hum of the radiator and the soft glow of the tree. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. "I'm proud of us," Elias corrected. They stood there, holding each other in the quiet apartment, and Elias felt something he hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the absence of fear or uncertainty, but the presence of something stronger. Hope. Love. The knowledge that whatever came next, he wouldn't face it alone. Come back to bed, Clara said. It's Christmas. We should be together. Elias let her lead him back to her room. They climbed into bed, tangled together, her head on his chest, his fingers in her hair. Elias? Clara's voice was drowsy. Yeah? I'm really glad Leo hired you. Elias laughed softly. Me too. Even if you were a terrible Santa, I was an excellent Santa. Your beard was falling off. That was atmospheric, added realism. Clara giggled, the sound muffled against his chest. I love you. I love you too. She fell asleep like that, breathing even and peaceful. Elias stayed awake a little longer, memorizing the weight of her against him, the sound of Leo's soft snoring through the wall, the way the streetlight filtered through the curtains. This was the life he'd been searching for. Not in Seattle or some prestigious firm, right here, in a cramped apartment with a broken bookshelf and a secondhand tree. Home. December 26th, the deadline day that no longer mattered. Elias woke to Leo jumping on the bed, already dressed and full of chaotic energy. We're going ice skating, Leo announced. Mom says you have to come because I need a responsible adult who won't fall on their butt. Her words, not mine. Clara appeared, 2 coffees in hand, grinning. I said, experienced adult. I'm an excellent skater. You broke your wrist last year, Leo said. That was a fluke. You fell in the parking lot before we even got to the ice. Elias snorted into his coffee. Clara glared at him. Whose side are you on? The side with medical evidence, Elias said. Then, at her expression, but I'm sure you're a beautiful skater, very graceful. Nice save, Leo stage whispered. They bundled up and headed to the outdoor rink downtown. The city had transformed overnight. Christmas decorations still up, but the frantic energy replaced with lazy contentment. People strolled instead of rushed. Children tested new toys on sidewalks. The world felt softer. The rink was crowded but joyful. Families circling, couples holding hands, teenagers showing off. Leo took to the ice like he'd been born on it, all sharp turns and fearless speed. Clara was, in fact, terrible, clinging to the wall, ankles wobbling. Elias skated over, offered his arm. Need help? I'm fine, Clara said, immediately wobbling. Elias caught her. Very convincing. Shut up. But she took his arm, let him steady her. They skated slowly, Elias guiding, Clara gradually finding her balance. Leo zipped past every few minutes, offering unsolicited technique advice. You're leaning too far forward, Mom. Thank you, Leo. And your knees should be bent more. Noted. Also, you look terrified. Because I am. Elias pulled her closer, one arm around her waist. I've got you. I won't let you fall. Clara looked up at him, cheeks pink from cold, eyes bright. Promise? Promise. They made another slow lap, then another. Clara gradually relaxed, started to enjoy it. By the 4th lap she was laughing, attempting small glides, only grabbing Elias in panic twice. I'm doing it, she said, delighted. You're doing it, Elias confirmed. Leo skated over backwards, showing off. Okay, this is cute and all, but can we get hot chocolate now? I'm freezing. They left the rink for a nearby cafe, ordered 3 hot chocolates with excessive whipped cream, sat in a corner booth, cheeks flushed, fingers thawing. Best Boxing Day ever, Leo declared. It's not Boxing Day here, Clara said. Fine, best day after Christmas ever. Agreed, Elias said, stealing a sip of Clara's chocolate. Hey, sharing is caring. That's my line for Leo, not for adults. I'm emotionally 6 years old. Leo nodded seriously. That tracks. They stayed at the cafe for hours, hot chocolate turning to cookies, turning to an early dinner of grilled cheese. Outside, the sky darkened to indigo, streetlights flickering on. The city prepared for evening. We should head back, Clara said reluctantly. Or, Leo said, we could go look at the holiday lights one more time. They're taking them down tomorrow. Clara looked at Elias. You game? Always. They walked through downtown, hand in hand. Elias, Clara, Leo between them. The lights were spectacular, strung between buildings, wrapped around trees, turning the city into something magical. It's like a fairy tale, Leo said, craning his neck to see everything. Better than a fairy tale, Clara said, because it's real. Elias squeezed her hand, thought about where he'd been a month ago. Alone, broke, convinced happiness was for other people. And now, this, a family, a future, a home. Thank you, he said quietly. Clara looked at him. For what? For taking a chance on a guy in a cheap Santa suit. She smiled. Best investment I ever made. They walked until Leo started yawning, then caught the bus home. The ride was quiet, Leo dozing between them, the city rolling past in blurs of light. Elias looked at Clara over Leo's sleeping head. She mouthed, "Love you." He mouthed back, "Love you too," and meant it more than he'd ever meant anything. New Year's Eve arrived with unexpected warmth. The building was throwing a party, rooftop, potluck, everyone welcome. Clara spent the day cooking. Elias helped Leo build a confetti cannon from toilet paper rolls and glitter, and somehow none of them died. This is a terrible idea, Clara said, watching them tape the contraption together. This is science, Leo corrected. This is going to be a mess. That's the point. Leo's grin was pure mischief. The rooftop party started at 8. By 9, it was packed. Someone had strung lights, set up speakers, brought enough food to feed an army. The city sprawled below them, already celebrating, fireworks in the distance, the hum of collective joy. Elias found himself talking to Mr. Chen, the old man from Christmas dinner. They discussed woodworking, the weather, the importance of good tools. It was easy, comfortable, the kind of conversation that didn't need to prove anything. You're good for Clara, Mr. Chen said eventually. I hope so. You are, I can tell. She laughs more. The boy laughs more. He paused. Don't fuck it up. I'll do my best. Good enough. At 11:30, someone called for speeches. Mrs. Kowalski went first, toasting to health and happiness in heavily accented English. Others followed, funny stories, heartfelt wishes, drunk declarations of friendship. Then Leo tugged Elias's sleeve. Your turn. I'm not. You're part of the community now. You have to. Elias looked at Clara, panicked. She just smiled, gestured. Go on. He stood, awkward and uncertain. Everyone turned to look. I'm Elias, he started. Obvious, great start. I'm new here. I moved into the neighborhood about a month ago and He paused. I was lost. I didn't know it, but I was. I'd spent years thinking success meant leaving, meant going somewhere bigger and better. And then I met these people. He gestured at Clara and Leo. And they taught me that bigger isn't always better. That home isn't a place, it's the people who make you want to stay. His voice cracked. He pushed through. So thank you, all of you, for letting me be part of this, for showing me what community looks like. He looked at Clara, for everything. Applause erupted. Someone whistled. Mrs. Chen dabbed her eyes with a napkin. Clara crossed the rooftop, kissed him in front of everyone. That was perfect. That was terrifying. Same thing. Midnight approached. Everyone counted down, voices overlapping, languages mixing. 10, 9, 8. Elias held Clara close. Leo squeezed between them, his confetti cannon ready. 3, 2, 1. The cannon exploded. Glitter everywhere. Fireworks burst above the city. People cheered, kissed, celebrated. And Elias thought, this is it. This is the moment my life changed. Not when I got the Seattle offer, not when I turned it down. Here, now, covered in glitter, holding the people I love, surrounded by a community that chose me. This was the real beginning. January 14th, the night before Elias started his new job. He sat in his workshop, his real workshop now, the one that came with the teaching position. Bigger space, better tools, heat that actually worked. He was finishing the last piece of his uncle's debt, a custom dining table for a client who'd waited 2 years. Beautiful walnut, inlaid detail, perfect joints, his best work. The door opened. Clara and Leo appeared, carrying takeout bags. "We brought dinner," Clara announced. "Figured you'd forget to eat." "I was going to eat," Elias lied. "Liar." She set out containers, Chinese food, his favorite. "Take a break." They ate on the floor, surrounded by sawdust and half-finished projects. Leo explored the new space with wide eyes, touching tools with reverent care. "This is so cool," he breathed. "Can I come here? After school sometimes?" "If your mom says it's okay." Leo turned pleading eyes on Clara. "Please, I want to learn to build things, like Elias." Clara pretended to consider. "I suppose, but you have to do homework first." "Deal!" After dinner, Elias showed Leo how to sand properly, with the grain, patient pressure, feeling for smoothness. The kid took to it immediately, focused and careful. Clara watched them, leaning against a workbench. "You're good with him. He makes it easy. Still, you're patient. You explain things without talking down to him." She paused. "You're going to be a great teacher." Elias looked at the table, his uncle's legacy, almost complete. Thought about the kids he'd meet tomorrow. At-risk youth. Kids who'd been told they'd never amount to anything. Kids who needed someone to believe in them. "I'm terrified," he admitted. "Good. That means you care." Clara crossed to him, wrapped her arms around his waist. "You're going to change lives, Elias, I know it." "How can you be so sure?" "Because you changed mine. And Leo's." She looked up at him. "You taught us it's okay to hope again. That's everything." Elias kissed her, soft and grateful. When they broke apart, Leo was watching with analytical interest. "Are you guys going to get married?" he asked casually. Clara choked. "Leo!" "What? It's a reasonable question. You're basically living together already." "We've been dating for a month." 6 weeks, Leo corrected. "And you're always together. And Elias has a toothbrush at our place. And clothes in your dresser." He ticked off on his fingers. "Logically, we're not having this conversation," Clara said firmly. Elias bit back a smile, pulled the flashcards from his pocket, the ones Leo had made at Christmas. "For the record, kid, I'm still considering your referendum." Leo's face lit up. "Really?" "Really, but these things take time, okay?" "Okay," Leo paused, "but not too much time. I want to change my last name before middle school." "Leo!" Clara's face was bright red. Elias laughed, pulled them both into a hug. His family, his impossible, wonderful family. Tomorrow, he'd start teaching, building futures instead of buildings. And he'd do it with these people beside him, supporting him, believing in him. He'd finally found what he was looking for, and it looked nothing like he'd imagined. It looked like home. January 15th, first day. Elias stood outside Pioneer Architecture's community workshop, coffee in one hand, lesson plan in the other, absolutely convinced he was going to fail. The door opened. Margaret Lynn appeared, 50s, sharp eyes, kind smile. "Elias, welcome. Ready to meet your students?" "No." She laughed. "Good. Honesty is important. Come on." Inside, 12 teenagers sat at workbenches, ages 14 to 18, various backgrounds, all with the same look, guarded hope mixed with expectation of disappointment. Elias knew that look, had worn it himself once. "Everyone," Margaret said, "this is Elias Voss. He's going to teach you carpentry, design basics, and probably some life skills if we're lucky." The kids stared. Elias stared back. "Hi," he said. Smooth, Very professional. I'm not really a teacher, I'm a carpenter. I dropped out of architecture school because my uncle died and left me a workshop full of debt. I've been evicted twice. I eat cereal for dinner most nights. He paused. I'm telling you this because I don't want to pretend I'm something I'm not. I'm just a guy who knows how to build things and wants to help you learn. If you're willing to try, I'm willing to teach. Silence. Then a girl in the back, purple hair, skeptical expression, raised her hand. Yeah? Why should we trust you? Every adult says they want to help. Then they leave. Fair question. Elias thought about David, about every foster parent who'd given up on him, about his own father, who'd left before Elias could remember his face. You shouldn't trust me, he said. Not yet. Trust is earned. But I'm here. I'm showing up. And I'm going to keep showing up until you either learn something or decide I'm not worth your time. He met her eyes. Deal? The girl considered, nodded slowly. Another hand. A boy, younger, anxious. What if we're not good at this? Then you'll be bad at it. For a while. That's how learning works. You suck until you don't. Elias picked up a piece of wood, a simple block. See this? It's going to become a box, but right now it's just a block. And I'm going to fuck it up at least 3 times before it looks like anything. And that's okay. You're allowed to swear? Someone asked. Apparently, Margaret. Margaret shrugged. Within reason. Then yes, I'm allowed to swear. Which is good because carpentry involves a lot of hitting your thumb with hammers. A few kids laughed. The tension eased slightly. They spent the first hour on tool safety. Then Elias had them each choose a piece of wood. Just hold it. Feel the grain. Some kids rolled their eyes. Others got it. The meditative quality of working with your hands. By lunch, Elias had learned their names, their stories. Jade, purple hair, lived in a group home. Marcus, anxious kid, had a father in prison. Amara wanted to be an architect but couldn't afford college. Devin just wanted somewhere quiet to exist. They were brilliant and broken, and so full of potential it made Elias's chest ache. At the end of the day, Margaret pulled him aside. How do you feel? Exhausted, terrified, like I might actually be good at this. You are good at this, she smiled. See you tomorrow? See you tomorrow. Elias drove to Clara's apartment, their apartment now, officially, as of last week. Let himself in with his own key. Found Clara at her laptop, actually writing, a mug of tea beside her, and fierce concentration on her face. He kissed the top of her head. Didn't interrupt. Leo appeared from his room. How was it? Good. Hard. I think I might love it. Good. Leo nodded approval. You coming to dinner? Wouldn't miss it. They cooked together. Spaghetti, garlic bread, salad that Leo insisted on despite hating vegetables. Clara emerged from her writing trance, eyes bright. I wrote 3,000 words today, she said, awed. That's amazing, Elias pulled her close. It's terrible writing, but it exists. That's something. That's everything. They ate dinner as a family, told stories about their days, made plans for the weekend. Normal, domestic, beautiful. After Leo went to bed, Clara and Elias cleaned up together, their rhythm practiced now. Easy. I'm proud of you, Clara said, for today, for choosing this. I'm proud of you, for writing again. We're quite the pair. We really are. Clara turned to him, serious. Elias, I need to tell you something. His stomach dropped. Okay. Leo's father called, wants to see him. After a year of radio silence, suddenly he's interested in being a dad again. Elias felt rage spike, then forced it down. What did you say? I said I'd think about it. Talk to Leo, see what he wants. She leaned against the counter. I'm terrified. What if Leo wants to see him? What if David hurts him again? Then we'll deal with it. Together. Elias took her hands. Leo's smart. He'll make the right choice. And whatever happens, we'll be here. We? We. You, me, Leo, we're a team. Clara's eyes filled with tears. How did I get so lucky? I ask myself the same thing every day. They held each other in the quiet kitchen, and Elias thought about all the ways a life could change, all the moments that led to this one, the job he didn't take, the Santa suit he did, the choice to stay instead of run, best decision he'd ever made. Valentine's Day. Elias had been teaching for a month. Clara had written 50,000 words of her novel. Leo had started calling Elias Dad casually, like it was no big deal. Everything was terrifyingly perfect. Elias stood in front of his bathroom mirror, tie crooked, hands shaking. In his pocket, a ring. His grandmother's, saved from the debris of his childhood. Simple gold band, small diamond. Nothing fancy, but real. He'd planned an elaborate proposal, dinner reservation, rose petals, the whole cliché thing. But then Clara had texted, "Leo's at a sleepover. Come home. I'm making dinner." Home. She'd said home. So Elias abandoned his plans and drove to the apartment, let himself in, found Clara in the kitchen, flour everywhere, something burning in the oven. "I tried to make lasagna," she said, defeated. "It's a disaster." "I love disasters." She laughed, kissed him. "I ordered pizza. It'll be here in 20 minutes. Perfect. They sat on the couch waiting for pizza, the tree long gone but its absence still felt. The apartment was theirs now, Elias's books on the shelves, his tools in the closet, his life woven into theirs. "I need to tell you something," they said simultaneously, then laughed. "You first," Elias said. Clara took a breath. "I got a book deal. A small press, nothing huge, but they want to publish my novel, the one I've been writing." Elias's heart soared. "Clara, that's incredible. It pays almost nothing, but it's real. Someone wants to publish my words." "I'm so proud of you." He kissed her, deep and celebratory. "This is amazing." "Your turn," Clara said, breathless. "What did you want to tell me?" This was it, the moment. Elias slid off the couch, got on one knee, pulled out the ring. Clara's hands flew to her mouth. "I had a speech planned," Elias said. "Something about how you saved me, how you taught me what home means, how I want to spend every day of my life proving I deserve you. But the truth is simpler than that." He opened the box. "I love you. I love Leo. I love this life we're building, and I want to keep building it. Forever. Will you marry me?" Clara was crying, nodding. "Yes. God, yes." Elias slid the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. Of course it did. They kissed, long and deep and full of promise. Outside, snow began to fall. The pizza delivery guy knocked. Life continued, beautiful and ordinary. "We should call Leo," Clara said, wiping tears. "He's going to lose his mind. He's going to say, 'I told you so.'" He absolutely is. They FaceTimed Leo. The kid appeared on screen, already grinning. "You proposed, didn't you?" Leo said immediately. "How did you?" "Mom's crying. You're smiling like an idiot. Elementary deduction." "Smart ass." "It's official now," Leo said. "We're a family, for real." "We've been a family," Elias said. "But yeah, it's official." Leo's smile was pure joy. "Good. I already started working on my best man speech." "You're 6. "Age is just a number. I'm very mature." They talked for another 20 minutes, making plans, laughing, celebrating. When they finally hung up, Clara leaned against Elias, ring catching the light. "I can't believe this is my life," she whispered. "Believe it," Elias said, "because it's not going anywhere." They ate pizza on the couch, made love in her bed, fell asleep tangled together, the ring on her finger catching moonlight. And Elias dreamed of a future that looked nothing like his childhood dreams and everything like happiness. He'd found it, finally. Home wasn't Seattle or success or escape. It was here, with them, always.